and welcome once again to NUFC Talk TV. You're on mute. Don't forget, Marty Win. Uh, we are here again on this lovely afternoon of Wednesday, the 18th of June. Still no transfer news as of yet, but we have got, obviously, we've been linked to lots of people, and obviously, we've got talk now of J7 potentially being linked to Saudi move. So we'll have a chat on that. And obviously today we are going to concentrate on the fixtures. Fixtures came out at 9 a.m. this morning, and we're going to get wins interpretation of how many wins we're going to get this season. And obviously we're going to go and have an in-depth look each month to see if there's any banana skins out there. So it's going to be an interesting one. But before we get into all that, I suppose we better get into the housework. So again, welcome to all watching across all the platforms. Thanks to everybody that works in the background. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoy the show. Subscribe, it's totally free. Hit the bell for future content. Like I say, we will be doing many a live show. Sometimes it'll be just ad hoc. As news comes through, we'll jump on live. So if you hit that bell, you'll get notifications as and when we do. If you want to help us support the channel, you can become a member for a small monthly fee. Different levels to choose from depending on what you want to watch. So have a look on there. If you've got a question for me or Win during the show, you can put a Q in front of that question. Just helps us identify it, but it ain't guaranteed. So if you want to guarantee that message being read out, then please use the $, follow the instructions, and throw us a super chat. Anybody that becomes a member during the show, or any of our lovely members that gift memberships out there, will also be highlighted and thanked as we go. So how are we on this sunny Wednesday with the fixtures coming out? Are we good?
Yeah, well, good. And interesting set of fixtures, which are, by the way, nothing at all like the leaked fixtures that came out on Wednesday. Friday.
That's always going to be the case, isn't it? You know, these guys that throw the news out there, the clickbaiters, that will always try and get people jumping on board and clicking to get the numbers up. I mean, it is an interesting one, to be fair. The way these people throw the news out there thinking that they've got the upper hand. I still don't know why people believe it. The only thing that I did believe is obviously our first fixture would always be away due to that rugby match being played down the road at the Mackems. Hence, I said, like, you know, when I saw the news, our first game of the season will always be away. And what a game it's going to be, potentially, at Villa Park. So we'll get into all of the individual stuff in a minute. So when the fixtures come out this morning, were you was there anything staring? I mean, we've just been talking in the back room. Now, at the start of season 24-25, we all know there was, like, the first 15 games, there was 5 wins, 5 draws and 5 losses. Now, when the fixtures come out this morning, me and you have just been having a quick glance up until the second game in December, which was to try and predict. Would you accept the 5 wins, 5 draws and 5 losses in the first 15 games of this fixture? If, obviously, that's what we end up getting. There's a crikey team. You're in with a question straight away. Gary, do you think Eddie Howe will change his mind and get players of better quality? Because we've got Spurs and Arsenal pre-season, haven't we? I think, to be fair, I think the one thing that I would always assume when we play in teams, and you've got to think, we've got Arsenal in September. If you've got a team out there that resembles anything like the team that you're going to play in the Premier League, you're opening yourself up big style. So for me, I think what you'll see in the pre-season stuff is probably a lot of the kids amalgamated into the first team. There's going to be some rotation of some of the lads that have been heavily involved in the first team last season from the academy. And obviously, you've got to blend or try and get involved any new signings, if any new signings come. I mean, you know, when I should say, not if. So yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one. Do you think there's going to be much on show in these games?
If you remember when we did the pre-season tournament in Atlanta when we played Chelsea and Villa. Villa particularly, because we had Villa on the opening day of the season then, if you remember. And we beat them 5-1 comfortably. Went Tonali's debut. But the team that we played Villa in that pre-season tournament was nothing like the 11 that started against them in the league. And similarly, so I'm seeing a bit of a trend here. When we played Liverpool at Anfield, season just gone, before we played them at Wembley, again, the team we put out at Anfield and the style that we played was nothing like what we adopted when we played them at Wembley. So you could argue that he prioritised that to give us. He prioritised Wembley as the more important game of the two, and it worked a treat. So if history is to be believed, then you can argue he's going to do the same again in the pre-season, when results don't matter at all. So it's all about performance and getting minutes in legs, and okay, have a bit tweak around with anything that you set plays, stuff like that you're going to trail against a proper team. But no, I think pre-season is what it is. It's to get fitness levels up and minutes in legs.
Yeah, it's like I said, the idea of pre-season isn't about trying to hide players either. It's about getting players, like you say, minutes in legs, get them up to speed, match fitness. Because, like you say, the lads are back on the 7th of July to report back from obviously off season, their holidays. So when you bring in new players, obviously the new players need to bed into a system. Now, it's okay having, as we go often here, it's going to be Premier proven players come in because they know the speed of the Premier League. And what we've seen recently when we've had players from Europe, Bruno's, etc., have sat on the bench for the first few games anyway. Eddie likes to adopt this softly approach to the Premier League, if you like. With these type of fixtures that we've got coming up now, and obviously there's got to be a massive potential upgrade on some of the players that we've already got. And again, I go back to, 5 players is what I recommended us looking at, whether that be, buying them or actually looking at getting players on loan. And obviously now we've got, there's players that we would want to stay at the club that potentially we could get a bit of money for, the likes of J7. Anthony Gordon is another one. But who comes in to support these areas if we do let these guys go? And I think that's going to be the big thing now, isn't it? Do you look at the tried and tested, Premier proven players to come in and carry on their form from wherever parent club they've come from, or do you gamble and go in Europe and go and test the waters there, hoping that you're going to get players from abroad that are able to approach the Premier League in the same vein?
Well, for every, I don't know, pick a number out of thin air, but I would say it's around about 6 to 10. For every 6 to 10 players that come into the Prem from elsewhere, you'll be lucky if you get one who actually makes a big impression.
Yeah.
For every one that for every Bruno, there's half a dozen Diabys, and so on and so forth. So, and especially if we are talking about selling either J7 or Gordon, by the way, neither of which I would do. But if we are, then we're going to have some financial clout anyway, because we're not going to be selling them for peanuts. So we should be able to go and buy they're finished, and other. There's a lot of folk in the WhatsApp chat who are saying, no, go on the continent, get cheap, instead of paying the Premier League tax or the Saudi tax, call it what you will.
Yeah.
No, we've got to. We're in with the big boys. We've got to spend like the big boys.
Yeah, I agree. We have got to start spending. You talk about our chat behind the scenes, if you like, that we do on the WhatsApp group. And for me, it seems very much like the meltdown group now, because it's like, what we're going to moan about today. Is it the fixtures, the lack of transfers, the kits, the Paul Mitchell show, the Eddie show? Or is it something completely different? It seems as if at the minute we've forgotten what we've achieved over the last year.
I haven't.
No, I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Daniel Johnson's just put on the forum. Gary's just called us the meltdown group. And it does seem strange the way, though, like I say, it seems very much like, we are looking very much on what we haven't done rather than what we have done. So, I'm hoping when Eddie comes back off his jollies, if he is on his jollies, which I expect him to do, he is... he's all guns blazing as he's done. So it is an interesting one. So without further ado, I suppose we better get into the fixtures that we have lined up for season 25-26. Starting with Aston Villa away at Villa Park, and then Liverpool at home, and then Leeds away. So again, what we said before was if we started the 25-26 season the same as we started 24-25, 5 wins, 5 draws, 5 losses, would you be happy with it? In the chats, let me know.
As I said, when we're talking off screen, I wouldn't be happy because looking at that fixture list now, I can see 6 wins at least. I'm saying that we should be winning 6 games that we should be winning, and I can only see 4. Let's say if you include Brighton away, because we've got a shocking record Brighton away. There's only 4 defeats that I can see out of that 15. Now there's going to be a lot of tight games, so you can argue a couple of those will be draws. But draws are rare in the Prem, there's not a lot of draws in the Prem. You generally find every season there'll be one team that, for some reason, racks up draw after draw after draw after draw. And as we've spoken about before, Gary, 3 points are what gets you up the table.
It is. Draws, like I said, draws are as bad, for me, they're as bad as a loss.
Yeah, 38 draws get you relegated.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's certainly something that you need to start looking at. Well, I say exactly, used to. It doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Where we looked at 40 points was the magic number, wasn't it, at one point? That seems to fell well by the by now. But it is going to be interesting. So you're expecting a tough start to the season. I said in the green room, having Leeds away in the third game, potentially a banana skin, because they're still going to be high flying, really going gung ho in the Premier League on their return. So them first 3 games are going to be tricky in my eyes.
Yeah, there's no doubt they're going to be. Listen,
Yeah, there's no easy games.
There's no easy games in the Prem. And especially this season for us, with the Mackems being there, that's 3 easy points for everybody else and 3 hard points for us. But looking at them, I can see August we've got Villa, Liverpool, Leeds. I think we should beat Leeds if we play to what we're capable of playing, especially bearing in mind we should have some new blood in as well. I think we should wipe the floor with Leeds, to be fair. Villa away is obviously a tough one. That fixture historically favours the home team massively. They've won 5 out of 6. We've won 4 out of 5 at home. But and then we've got Liverpool. Now then, Liverpool at home. We should have beat them last season.
Yeah, we should.
We should have beat them we should have beat them the season before. That 3-3 was a rather fortuitous point at the finish with Kelleher miscalculating the flight of the ball that fell to Share at the far post.
Great finish, by the way.
Well, it was. Even for just
bloody tight angle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was a great finish, but it shouldn't have got it, and it was in the dying seconds, so it got us a point that we shouldn't have had. But actually on the whole 90 minutes, it's one of the best 90 minutes we played last season. But we just caught Salah on a good day, and he tore a new one in Lewis Hall that day. But anyway, have we got the monkey off our back with Liverpool, though, at Wembley?
At Wembley, exactly.
That's the thing. We thoroughly deserved that victory. I don't care what anybody says. And 2-1 flattered them, in my opinion. So have we got the beating of them now? Obviously, they are spending massive amounts of money. But they've lost Trent. I'll be honest, I don't think that's a massive loss for them. But time will tell. I was trying to find some stats relating to how many Salah goal involvements resulted from Trent passes. And I thought that should be someone that's dead easy to find. But I was on for about an hour trying to look at all various bits of stats and to actually correlate without going through every single individual game, which would have taken forever. There was no way you could see just how many of Salah's goals were down to Trent. But just from the eye test, from having watched a whole load of the Liverpool games, I suspect it'll be a lot. Because the number of balls that he used to bend up the touchline for Salah to run onto was considerable. So without him there feeding Salah, is that going to make a big difference to how effective they are? Can Salah perform the miracles again this season that he's done for the last 2 or 3? That's a massive question in itself. He's not getting any younger, although he's fit as a butcher's dog.
I was going to say, you see, he looks after himself. That's the difference, isn't
it? When he takes that shirt off, my God. Reminds me of me when I was a lad.
I'm going to say, he reminds me of you now. I mean, I'm on about the butcher's dog. Anyway, Jonathan says that's rubbish. Not losing games gets you up the league. Arsenal won the league with 12 draws. Liverpool just won the league with 9 draws. So defend yourself.
Arsenal won the league with 12 draws. When? How long is it since Arsenal won the league? 20 years? Different game altogether now to what it was then. You used to get an awful lot more draws then in the top division than you do now. Be interesting. I'll for the next show I'll have a look at those. But by comparisons.
I mean, you can look at it both ways. There's an argument both ways, isn't it? A point for a draw, like I said, 9 draws. There's 9 points. It's 3 wins, isn't it?
I mean, obviously, you're better off with a draw than getting beat.
Than getting nothing. Yeah,
that's.
But that's like us saying you're better off scoring 20 goals, aren't you, than just 10, because that extra goal difference gives you that extra points, as it showed at the end of the season last season.
But you're better off winning 2 and losing 2 than winning 1 and drawing 3. Yeah. So you're better off, the 3 points makes all the difference. That's what it was introduced for.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like I say,
we've
there's an
seen
argument.
Eddie's style this season has been to go for it. And that's been costly at times, of course it has. But on the other hand, we've got more draws last season than we've ever had. More wins last season than we've ever had. And that's how we got in the Champions League.
Yeah. I mean, I must admit, the only time I wanted a draw was in the Champions League. Just to still play that European football for us. But with Eddie, like I say, with that mentality to go out there and still go for the jugular and get the result, did bite us on the backside a little bit, didn't it?
Well, more so the season before, everybody was arguing. You should have went for the draw against Milan. You should have went for the draw against PSG, so on and so forth. But when he then went for against Chelsea in the Carabao, when he went for the draw and they scored the late penalty, then what's he sitting back for? He shouldn't be sitting back. He's in a no-win situation.
Yeah. It is an interesting one when you look at it. So points wise, then out of August, what you're expecting? Would you be happy? I mean, Strasbourg Steve says he's got 2 draws and 2 wins and 3 draws in the first 5 games.
That's up to Bournemouth away. So he's having Leeds and Wolves. I agree, should beat them. There's 2 wins and 3 draws out of Villa, Liverpool, Bournemouth away, and Arsenal. That would be acceptable, I think.
I mean, it's like everybody else, isn't it? How the Premier League has gone over the past is the fact that you're looking at some teams will literally start like a train, won't they? They'll just keep going, bang, 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 bang. It happens. Teams
and
take time to settle.
Here's the thing, Gary. Momentum is such a huge factor in football. At any time, when a team, you know what we were like when we went on that winning run last season.
Yeah.
You just felt,
we were never going to lose. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it did. And
unfortunately, the wheels came off a little bit towards the end of the season, but the run towards it got us to where we were. And I think that's what you've got to look at. So let's go into September then. Wolves, Bournemouth, and Arsenal. Again, you look at Wolves at the moment; they look like there could be a team potentially in the relegation battle. In my eyes, it seems as if they're not.
Yeah, they're going to be down there, I think.
Yeah, they're getting rid of some of their star players, and obviously not. Again, depends on recruitment. Bournemouth is always a tricky one away. We've seen that in the past, so that one potentially. Would you be happy with getting a point away at Bournemouth? And you talked about obviously getting the monkey off our back with Arsenal. I mean that's another one, isn't it? Only scraping the only win last season at the end of the season, Arsenal. So at home, a totally different mentality, I would have thought. And for me, I don't want us. We seem to approach some of these games, especially against the likes of Man City. When you look at the way we play against Man City now, I'm not just talking about when Anthony Gordon got the penalty to get us the draw, and everybody said we were lucky or it was a good draw. I think we were just too negative. I think sometimes we approach some of these guys, these teams, and we seem to be very much on the, I'm going to respect you far too much, rather than playing your game.
Yeah,
I want to see us really having a go at these guys. If we want to be up there with the big boys at the end of the season, I think we've got to have a go at every single team that we face this season coming.
I agree, absolutely. To me, Liverpool, as I said, depending on whether Salah can keep on producing the magic, it's going to be interesting to see how Mr. Wirtz fits in. Yet again, somebody coming over here with a massive, massive reputation.
Mm.
Let's just see how he gets on in the Prem. Welcome to the big league, son. And we'll see how that goes. But Liverpool, I still think, are favourites this season. I haven't been impressed so far with City's recruitment. You know, they aren't what they were, and it's telling that Pep has been unable to get the best out of, for example, Phil Foden. You know, Foden looks a shadow of the player that he was.
Yeah, he certainly, whatever it was.
Pep's answer is splash the cash. Just go and buy somebody. And instead of working on the players he's got.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it must be nice to have that
absolutely
in the bank, mustn't it? You know, just to go out and splash the cash. But I mean, you know, you look at the deal, the work that Liverpool have done in the off season, you know, some of the players that they've brought in, they're obviously coming and spending the money. There's talk now that potentially they could be in for Gordon. There's still talk about Isak as well. I don't know where they're getting all this cash from. And Mancunian way saying that Foden's been injured with. And he also had that personal issue as well. He seemed to really affect him mentally and emotionally. So, I mean, like I say, he hasn't certainly been the same player. But neither has Anthony Gordon for us. You know, we seem to have lost his way a little bit, Anthony Gordon, this season. So it has been a.
Again, you see, I'm not having this Gordon criticism for last season. Was he as good as he was the previous season? No, he wasn't. But did he have a bad season? I didn't say he did.
I didn't say he had a bad season.
A lot of people are saying that the wheels have completely fallen off. To me, they haven't. I watched him last season. He was never the worst player on the pitch. And 9 weeks out of 10, he's 7s and 8s. But he was 9s and 10s the previous season.
Yeah,
I think he needs a rest.
Yeah, well, you know, there's been a lot of talk about that. You know, playing for 2 solid years without that much of a break does change the way you look at football. It seems to be, like I say, it becomes a chore rather than trying to become, you know, part of your job anymore. You can't afford Foden on loan, never mind buying Lol. He's $275K a week and will be given a new contract.
Martin, I'm not saying that we are in for Gordon by any stretch of the imagination. What I'm saying is, and you know, you've referenced the fact that he was injured, and obviously, as Gary's just referred to, he's had these supposed personal issues. I just think the master tactician that we're led to believe that Pep is should have got more out of him, because when I saw him play last season, I mean, I wasn't impressed at all.
I think the biggest thing for me was the fact
and
that
I love
very
Gordon,
much
by
like
the way.
like Anthony Gordon, you know, can you have good games if you don't play in the same position back to back? You know, and that's what I said. You know, you look at Anthony Gordon thrown over to the right wing sometimes, thrown to the middle sometimes, and Foden's been treated the same. You know, Pep's tried to play him in different areas to cover injuries and suspensions and everything else, and sometimes that'll affect your game. But for me, I mean, you are right about Anthony Gordon regarding, you know, he's not had a terrible season, but when you look, you know, and maybe I am putting him on a pedestal from the season before, but he was at fault for a couple of the goals, trying to beat the player 2 or 3 times. He was at fault at times on his recovery runs, which we never saw the season before. He was always trying to get back. There was a couple of times this season where he gave up on getting back. But again, that could be that physical aspect, you know, as he played too much football and he just hadn't got it in the tank. So there's a number. Jonathan's got a question. Gordon didn't have a bad season with 15 goals and assists, but Foden did have a bad season with 16 goals and assists. Can't we say both wasn't at the level expected? Exactly.
Well, that's exactly spot on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with that. I mean, like I say, these players get put on a pedestal because of the fans watching them. And that's what I said. When you have a drop-off, it seems a massive thing. And like I say, we don't know whether that was a mental approach to being linked to a move away to Liverpool, or whether it was the fact that Gordon had played too much football and just wasn't up to the game from then on. It seemed to be international knocks. It seemed to be, and again, from the time that he fell off the bike, there was that. Again, without knowing the full details, it was like he was told that he was never going to play because of what he's done, and how that could have hindered the club, the team, with his not being very responsible while he was riding his bike when he had that fall. Was that something that really affected his mentality? I don't know. It's all surmising, isn't it?
And of course, not forgetting that from the very start of the season, when because of the PSR issues we had, he was literally touted to Liverpool, and that's got to have some effect on his mentality, for want of a better expression. He's saying, bloody hell, they're happy to get shot of us. I think that's been well and truly
put to bed. Do you think?
No.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt at the time.
Oh, look, hello. Dear, I do love these computers. Whatever reason, that has come off the screen, so I'm just going to enlarge it. There you go. That was me sending my mate here a picture of me and the missus while we were in Turkey. Going into October.
Ball.
Yeah, having a ball. Going into October and November then. So Forest, Brighton and Fulham. Again, we look at those three fixtures and you on paper they look quite simple, but we all know Brighton away is always one of those places that we don't always get the results from. 2 home fixtures, 1 away. What we were talking about as well before is the fact that we've got 3 games in 3 months, haven't we? In each month.
Only 3, yeah.
Yeah, so not so much pressure on the squad, if you like. But obviously that will change because obviously what we haven't got in here is the domestic cups. Will come in September, isn't it? The Carabao
and the EU Champions League, obviously.
Yeah, and the Champions League, exactly. So that will all be involved in these fixtures. But for me, October looks a favourable month. And then you obviously go into November, which again, you look at it, and we've got Shelley in the chat as well, who's the blue toffee, who's obviously happy that we've got them at the new ground in November, the end of November. But West Ham away, Brentford away, Man City at home, and Everton away. So, couple of tricky ones, couple of be results wise.
City is always a tricky one, obviously, and Brighton for us particularly is notoriously tricky for some unexplained reason. But Forest at home, we should beat them. Fulham at home, we should beat them. West Ham United, unless they do something spectacular in the transfer window, and by all accounts they're just looking at selling at the minute. I think if I was a West Ham fan, I'd be saying, why are we even considering selling Kudus? Because to me, with Bowen, he's the one player they've got, like 2 players they've got that can make a difference. So I'll be honest, I wouldn't mind getting him.
What, Kudus?
Yeah, apparently 38 million or something now that's being touted around. So
yeah.
Because as we've said, we struggle. The last couple of years we've struggled against the low block. Maxi used to do a bit unpicking for us, but his end result was hitty-missy. A bit like Kudos, but he can beat a man. And that's what we need now. We need somebody who can not just run past them, but actually when you're up against, one followed by another one, be able to dribble. And we haven't really got anybody in the side who's got a trick, as I like to say. When the players that we're looking to bring in, please, let's have one of them who's going to have a trick. And apart from anything else, it excites the crowd. And it gets
absolutely.
It gets. We know from Maxi. It lifted the crowd if it was on a downer for whatever reason. And it might not come to anything, but at least it got the crowd buzzing again.
Yeah,
and there's always a chance of getting a free kick then, of course.
Well, that's what I said. Any player. You see, I mean, the only thing is for me, I mean, Kudus has obviously done all his work on that left-hand side, hasn't he? Because Bowen's very good on the right-hand side. So can he transfer his skills across to the other side? I mean, this is the same, if you like, effect and approach that we've had with Gordon and Barnes, isn't it? Both seem to go into hiding when we've moved them across from that left-hand side. And that's something I don't really necessarily want to gamble on now because it's an important role. I think, if you're looking at bringing a player in to play, for me, people say, it should be in front of Murphy, if I'm honest, regarding Murphy's technical ability. I'm not saying about his passing or his goals and assists over the last 2 seasons. It's more his technical ability, because what I found with Murphy, he does lose the ball a lot. He does play that ball astray a couple of times, which puts us on the back foot when we've gone on that transition moving forward into the final third. Excuse me. So I always think now the player that comes in has to have that technical ability to hold the ball, to, like you say, hold the play up. Very much like Harvey Barnes has done in Gordon's absence. The one thing, they're totally different players who play on the left-hand side. Anthony Gordon's very much a solo individual that runs and opens space up for others to exploit, where Barnes is a bit more methodical with his approach to the game, holds the ball up, allows players to join him in the final third, and then offloads and moves into space from there. So 2 different styles of play. And we need a similar ilk on the right-hand side, in my eyes. Somebody who's got a little bit of pace, somebody who can hold up a ball and bring players into the void. So, like I say, there's a couple of players that I've seen out there that, for me, should be really heavily looked at if the links that we see in the Premier League don't come of age. We move into Europe, because, like I say, you don't have to pay mega bucks for some of them, and they've been playing their regular. Is it Saw? I quite like as well. The Argentinian lad, Mateus Saw. He looks very good down that right hand side. So there is players out there that you can go and invest your time and effort in. I don't want to see us, with these Alangas over 2 or 3 weeks. When the season starts to approach, we need to start looking at getting players into these fixed spots, and then, maybe then towards the end of the window, the transfer window, that's when you can start bringing in the squad builders, if you like. So at the first 6 games, then, how many wins do you reckon we're going to get? How many points are we on the board, Mr. Mathematician?
The first 6.
Sorry, first 7. The first 7.
So we're doing October.
Yeah,
November.
First 7. How many did you say you got from August and September, points wise? I didn't hear you.
Well, August, I was August and September, the first 6 games, which is what Steve Mackler was on about, Strasbourg, Steve. That he said he'd be happy with 7 points. I think we need more than that. I think we've got to beat Wolves and Leeds, so there's 6. And let's be conservative. Take a couple of draws from Villa, Liverpool, Bournemouth, and Arsenal. So there's a absolute bare minimum of 8 points.
So you're sitting on the fence at 8 points. Okay.
No, no. I think we'll do better than that. But 8 points is an absolute bare minimum. When you look at the fixtures, we've got Villa, Liverpool, and Arsenal. Albeit two of them are at home.
Yeah.
So I would expect to win one of those two. Arsenal hold no fears for me at all, by the way.
No. I agree with that.
I don't care who they go out and sign for centre forward, as long as it's not Isaac, obviously.
So October and November then. So we're going to sit on 8 points. We're going to do it conservatively.
Yep.
So who do you reckon then out of these teams we're going to get the points from?
Well, I can see 5 wins in October and November. Forest at home, Fulham at home, West Ham away, Brentford away, and either Everton or Brighton. Even though Brighton's a bit of a ball.
I'm going to say that's a tricky one. So, are you going for 15 points?
I'm going for those 7 games. I'm going for minimum 15 points. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. So at the minute we're on 23 points in November.
Sorry to say, Martin, but I think we might give you a game at the park and all.
Oh well, that's a good one. Moving into December, which obviously it's hefty to some. Burnley twice.
Well, exactly.
In December.
You look at Burnley twice. It's not that hefty.
No.
And the
Spurs. Yeah, Spurs, Sunderland, Manchester, and Chelsea United.
And again, it's Chelsea at home. The problem with these fixtures there is that we've got Liverpool, Arsenal, City, and Chelsea, and Spurs, if you want to put them in the mix, all at home. In those first, 7, 10, 14, first 20 fixtures, all the big boys at home. Which means, of course, second half of the season, we've got them all to play away.
Yeah, exactly.
So that could be worrying. We've got to take, if you go back to 95-6 season, we lost the league that year because Man United took 6 points off us.
Yeah.
They won the league by 4. They took 6 points off us. If we win that home game, we win the league.
Yeah. Terry's made a good point there. Yeah, we got 6 games in December and Champions League games. So
if you remember, we had 10.
10. I'm going to say
that was 10 2 seasons ago when we had all the injuries.
All
10
the injuries
games in 30 days.
Yeah. Exactly. Potentially could be the same, couldn't it?
And hopefully we've got the same because that means we're still in the Carabao and, we're definitely going to still be playing the group stages of the Champions League because they don't finish till January. So...
Yeah, choppy there. Towsett must have more splinters in his backside than anyone. He's certainly been on the bench a lot. So we're going to break this down then. So we're on 23 points then, according to you. So how many points in December out of those 6 games?
Well, Spurs at home, we've got a fantastic record against them. Burnley, Sunderland, Burnley. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 wins. Man United away, we got that monkey off our back last season.
Yeah.
And obviously we need to see what they're doing in the market. But playing Man United of this season,
bless him.
There you go. Cheers, Ronnie.
Cheers, Ron. This is my £5 for the season long draw.
well, I hope you realise you've sent 10.
Yeah, I'm going to say. His maths are as good as mine. Anyway.
Yeah,
thanks, Ron.
So I'm saying wins against Spurs, Burnley twice, Sunderland. So there's 12 points. Chelsea at home and Man United away. I'm going to say a minimum of 2 points for that. I think it could be a win and a draw, a win and a loss, but I'd settle for 2 draws. So that's 14 points for December.
Okay, so 37 points at the end of the year.
What about you?
Well, I've already broke it down. I've got 33 points written down from up until December. So I think it was 33 on my list. Yeah, 33 points I've got down. You've gone a little bit more gung-ho than me.
37 I've got, haven't I?
You went 37, so mine 33. So write these down, Win, and then we'll see how we've done at the end of December, how close we are. And then we go into...
Just to recap, then, what did you say we'd get in August?
Well, I haven't written them down individually. I've just gone down the list and calculated how many wins, losses, and draws in each month, type of thing, and come up with a number of 33. Yeah. So we go into the end, and then we'll see where we are. January, we go into Crystal Palace, Leeds, Wolves, Villa and Liverpool away. So this is obviously, as you said, the start of the big uns, if you like, home and away, with Aston Villa and Liverpool at the end of January. Aston Villa at home, we've got a decent record at home against the Villa. Again, Liverpool, hopefully we've got that monkey off our back, but I'd like to go to Anfield with a bit of a shout, if I'm honest with you. So I certainly think out of January, I'd like to see a minimum of 9 points.
Well, I think 9 points is just about a given, isn't it?
Well, it's not a given.
Yeah.
As you keep on telling me, there's no easy games.
Well, no, but Palace and Leeds at home and Wolves away, you've got to be expecting 9 points there.
That's what I said. I've gone down on the. I've gone very conservative.
Right, you're saying
minimum of 9 points.
We're getting nothing against Villa. Well, you say I'm gonna say we're gonna. I've given Villa the 3 points for
the away game.
For the away game, because historically that fixture is a homie.
Yeah.
And again, Villa, we don't know who they are going to have to sell right now with the PSO issues that they've got. You know, hopefully they're in the same boat we were last summer and end up having to flog. I don't know. We've been linked with Ramsey and Morgan Rogers, so that could be good. So yeah, I'm saying 12.
You're going to go 12. So I'm going to go 9. You're going to go 12.
So 9, that takes me to 46 and you to 42.
Yeah. Then we move. Oh, right. I've done that again. Sorry, guys.
I'm saying 37.
I keep rolling me thing over there.
49. I'm saying end of.
So you're 49, and I should be 42. Yeah.
42. Yeah.
So into February then, Brentford, Tottenham, Man City away, and Everton at home. I thought February was a tricky month to organise because again, Tottenham under Thomas Frank now could be a totally. Terry's just saying, I hope there's no porn, mind, Gary. Them days are well gone for me, Terry. I thought February was a toughie for me, looking at this, because, again, we never know what Everton are going to turn up. Even though we're at home, we lost to the last game of the season at home. So I looked at this and I said 7 points, I would be well and truly happy.
Oh, well, you're more optimistic than me there, then, because I'm saying 6. Which is basically the home games against Brentford and Everton. Yeah. I'm saying, bite the bullet against Tottenham and Man City away.
I said like 2 wins, a draw and a loss out of that lot. So 7
you're
points for
going
me
7.
on February.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes with Newcastle, we seem to come out when the tough gets going type of thing. It just seems as if they're going, for us, they'll push a little bit harder. So,
Again, historically for us, January and February have been fantastic months.
yeah,
Every
exactly.
season.
Going into March then, Manchester United, Chelsea and the Mackhams. So, Manchester United, I think at the minute are really, really, again, they're pulling in some big wigs. They're losing some. Is Mbeumo going to go there in the end? Who knows?
I think he's more likely to go to Spurs now with Thomas Frank there.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And potentially Wissa as well, which is why I've given us 6 points against Brentford.
Against Brentford.
Away. This is Brentford, not only without Wissa and Mbeumo, but also without Thomas Frank.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be a different animal now, aren't they? Compared to what they've been recently.
I think they are one of the teams that could struggle this season.
Could be on the other side of it. Yeah, depends on how good they recruit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in March, I've gone for 4 points.
So Man United and Sunderland at home and Chelsea away, and you've gone 4 points.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've got 6.
You've gone 6.
Yeah, I'm seeing for the home games, Man United and Sunderland.
Yeah. See, I as daft it looks, like I say, I always look at the 6 points and I think to myself, am I over egging the pudding here? Because we just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I can't see us ever losing against the Mackhams at the minute. But the other two, I was like, which way am I going to go? So I'm going to give a draw because I think we'll lose one or the other.
Right, so you're 4.
And then we go into April with Crystal Palace away, Bournemouth at home, and Arsenal away. Now, again, I've gone very conservative, and I've given myself 4 points.
And you've given them one more than me, then, because I'm all I'm relying on categorically is the 3 points at home, Bournemouth.
Yeah, I mean the Palace game. I said,
I'm not writing off Palace away by any stretch of the imagination, or indeed Arsenal away. But I'm saying just acceptable minimum.
Yeah. Strasbourg, Steve, is going 2 points with a draw against Bournemouth and Arsenal, and Palace away loss. And I think that's the difference, isn't it? When you look at it, where we are. So what we are now at the end of April, because obviously this is going to be the big month for us now coming into May. How many points are we on?
April, I'm going 3 and you're going 4, you said, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are on 49 and 8 is 57. And I'm on 49 and 15, 64.
So I'm on 57.
At the end of
April.
You're on 60. You're on 57.
So remember when I said to you at the end of last season, 24-25, we have to be a team that starts looking at 70 plus points.
Yeah.
So that is my aim, and that's what I said. I put down 70 points at the end of last season. Is the benchmark. So
well,
I'm gonna
get to 70 now.
Well, I'm that is what I'm saying. This is how I looked at this league now, because again, I haven't got a crystal ball. I don't know what players are going to come in. So I'm looking at what we've got. So we are. Well, we say I can get 13 points from these 4 games.
How are you going to manage that?
But like I said, I don't think.
I think we can get 12 points from those last 4 games.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Especially if they all count.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think this is probably the easiest run-in
it is.
that we've had in a long time. Usually Brighton have a run-off towards the end of the season. Forest are going to be the same, I would have thought. West Ham, again, we never really know. And Fulham are the same. Seem to be a very, 10-ish plus position-wise in the league. So I really think 12 points for me into this. So that leaves me on 69 points, which is one off what I said.
76.
Yeah, well, if we got 76, we should finish second.
Well, and like I say, I think that's me being conservative. Again, it's all dependent upon bringing players in to improve the squad.
Absolutely. And
I mean, not just improve the squad, improve the first team.
Yeah. And I think that's what I said. I mean, for me, you have got to start looking at injuries and everything else. And it's a case of, have we got like for like regarding the quality to replace these players with? Now, everybody's saying that we need the same players, or we, as you keep saying, we need players to start in the 11, which drops those players playing at the moment down to the bench, which is improving the bench. I don't mind it being the other way around. I don't mind it being, players coming in onto the bench that aren't quite maybe Premier League proven. Yeah, and that's why I say I wouldn't start every single new purchase from the get-go, because it does take a while for them to get to that level of Premier League. It does take them a while to get to an understanding of the lads that they're playing alongside as well. So for me, it was a case of, if they come in and improve the squad depth, even if they start on the bench, it certainly wouldn't be a downer for me. But like I say, the proof will be in the pudding come the 30th of June, I think, for you. So, like I say, for me, it's going to be an interesting season, this one. 70 points is what I wrote down, and I've finished on 69. So let's see where that takes us.
No, I'm on 76, but that's without me predicting a win in any of the games against the top four: Chelsea, City, Liverpool, and Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, Jordy Dan's put on, sometimes playing to teams, the big guns early on, does get you the results because they haven't had time to settle, especially if they're blooding in new players. Because it does take, like I've just said, it does take a while for teams to settle in with new players. So you can get the benefits from that. You also get the benefits from, giving new players that impetus to go and improve and get involved in the squad. So you're going to get the rub of both sides for me.
Well, whatever criticism people have for Eddie Howe, one of them is certainly not that he doesn't improve players, because that is his absolute top credential in terms of players under his tutorship improve, and we've seen it time and time again with virtually. I can't think of a single player who's looked worse under Eddie than they did under somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. It is an interesting one. So let's go on to some news, because like I say, there was a little bit of news that come our way. Obviously, there was some news that was reported in the Chronicle about fixtures, and obviously what they've written was, while the Premier League celebrates the success, it will come with an impact on scheduling of league matches, because now obviously Sky Sports have got minimum of 215 games with European competitions and everything else. What they're saying is you have to not pre-plan your schedule early, because with European fixtures and everything else and domestic cups, if you go further down the line, what they're saying is these games can change literally at the drop of a hat. And we saw that a couple of times last season, didn't we? Where fixtures will literally just change because of going as a broadcasting schedule. And it says the Premier League understands the need to confirm fixture dates and times as early as possible. Our fixture announcements will continue to provide around 6 weeks' notice ahead of fixtures prior to January and 5 weeks thereafter. So that's the time schedule that they're trying to achieve. Going on to the next little bit of news was about Joe Linton. Obviously, we've heard quite a few reports about J7, and he's now been, linked with several Saudi clubs around. And obviously, we know that the PIF have got 75% stake in 4 foundational clubs: Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, Al Ali, and Al Nazar.
Al Hilal, who's interested in J7 apparently.
Well, according to these, there's a couple more now that have come questioning his availability. There is nothing more than a column. Listen, you've got to think J7 is a player that's been providing us with a little bit of oomph and backbone in the midfield. Has he got the overall skill? No, he hasn't. But have we got anything in our squad that does a J7 role? Well, it showed that at the end of the season. We lost the battles a lot of the time, hence Eddie Howe a change formation. Now, people will always say, you change your formation, you put your best 11 on the field of play to go and get the results. Well, I think that proved that we hadn't got another midfielder that would hold that role. So I think he has to go out there and look for a player. I know we put Willock in there. We've dabbled with Willock playing that left-hand side, running into the left wing, the left 10 slot. Doesn't seem to be, blowing me frock up at all at the minute.
I've just about given up. Well, in fact, I'm not just about. I've given up on Willock now.
Yeah.
Sadly, since he came back from the injury, he hasn't looked anywhere near the same player.
No, exactly.
For me.
And that's something where now I look at providing a little, I suppose, and it is a little because it's like I say, it's not a given. But there's a player that I've put on the screen here that I think we should go and have a little bit of a look at. And as you can see, when you look at his attributions here, right, plays midfield centre and DM. So if I put Joe Linton into here, because what I'm looking for is somebody who's going to play a very similar.
It's too small for me to read there.
Javier Guerra, right? So when you look at his attributes, attacking both on 57, creativity both on 60, defending Guerra's 32, Joe Linton's 43, and obviously you've got to think of his height and tackling's a little bit off. But what this guy actually predominantly does, he's a 22-year-old, over 6 foot. He plays, he brings the ball forward really well. He's able to link up play and break lines really well. So playing for Valencia, very good player. He's a steady player. He's not one of these over high performers, but he doesn't show many weaknesses, but he also doesn't show a lot of strengths apart from being a typical Spanish player. He likes to keep the ball at feet. He's got good close control. He gets his foot in when he needs to. And like I say, for me, he's one of these players under Eddie Howe that I believe could potentially grow, as we've seen with J7 playing in a different role to what he was bought for, and becoming that master of that position. So he's certainly a player that I would look at, and potentially he could come for around about the 25 million mark. So again, you look at the average SOFA score of this lad, 7.4. So again, he doesn't blow anybody's frock up, but neither does Tonali according to SOFA score. So I don't always go on these ratings. And again, if you have a look across here, a lot of very similar to what Tonali was. High 6s, low bar 7s, apart from the last part of the season where he was averaging just under 8s. But certainly a player that I certainly would look at because of his ilk to J7. And that's what I said. You get a player then that could literally slot into that position, play in the 6 if he needs to. If he needs to drop, as that would then release Bruno and Tonali going forward.
Got his F breath up here, and I'll tell you what I do like. You look at his take-ons. He's in the top 83.
That's what I said. Yeah, if you look at his percentiles,
progressive carries. That's all his big green lines of progressive carries, successful take-ons.
Yeah, and that's what I said.
Up shots.
Something that J7 doesn't do a great deal of for us. He seems to get the ball and pass. He does. I mean, he does carry the ball at times, but again, it's that technical ability. And the one thing I noticed with Guerra was the fact that he holds the ball close to body. Never really allows the opposition to take the ball off him. So a very, very interesting player. So, like I said, they are out there, these players, if you're willing to go and take the punt.
Take the punt, exactly. As opposed to prem proven.
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, for me, he was probably pound for pound one of the best midfielders in the Spanish league. Strasbourg Steve, who sees a lot more Spanish football than I do, top class technician, reads the game so well, has energy, brave on the ball, consistent performer. There you go. I couldn't have seen it I couldn't have said it any better from a few games that I've seen him. So thanks for that, Steve. Good input, mate. And that, like I say, that there is certainly players out there that and again, I always look at what we've got now with Eddie Howe. And I don't just go and throw out names that everybody's heard of, because not everybody will play a similar role. But this guy, this Guerra, seems to play, for me, a very similar role. He'll win the ball back, but the difference with his technical ability is he's also happy to keep the ball to feet, have another touch, and then lay into the pockets of space in front of him. So a really, really good performer on the ball. Be interested to see what everybody else thinks of these guys. But like I say, for me, there's been I always want a player to come in that can sit in that number 6 comfortably, and it allows the likes of Tonali to move forward into the 10 roles, into the higher 8s. And we talk about breaking lines and getting behind these low blocks. The problem I always find with our 3 up front playing so high sometimes is there's far too much space between the 3 in the midfield, and we just need somebody else to cover that void at times. So an interesting one. So there we go.
The only thing I can't understand about that is if, and we got Steve there saying one of the best in La Liga. If that's the case, why is he available for 25 million?
That's what I said. It's not a case of being available. I mean, I'm guesstimating he's around 25 million, because on marketplace and everything else, that's his valuation. But it depends on how much Valencia value him at, doesn't it? We can't go on, and that's what I said. If you look at how Gordon was only valued at 65 million according to Transfer Market. That's still higher than we paid for him. But how much do we value him at? Probably in the region of 80 million, isn't it?
I wouldn't let him go for less than 100.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that for me is the Valencia's got Peter Lim, a terrible owner who likes to sell players for cheap, apparently, according to Iniesta. So
they've got their own fat boy, have they?
They have. Well, it sounds very much like news. It. Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I like his teammate, Mosquera. Yeah, he looks a good young player as well. Apparently, according to Iniesta, £15 million. I looked at that Mosquera. The only thing, again, this is why I chose Van Hecker, was you're looking like for Fabian Schär. So you need players that can, play that ball 50, 60, 70-yard pass right to left on the diagonal, play balls through the channels.
I like Van Hecker as well, as you know, but the only problem is if we're going for João Pedro, I don't think we're going to get Van Hecker.
No, and that's what I said. I mean, you have to start asking yourself then.
If they could kiss and make up, they would do it at Brighton, wouldn't they? But
well, of course they would. Yeah, of course they would. I think for me, it's a case of you certainly you don't want to bring
that's the last thing we want to be bringing into the camp.
Exactly, or the club's dirty laundry. Yeah, exactly. You want to keep it away from as much as you can, but you also have to start looking at which of them two are going to give you the most benefit.
Bang for your bucks.
Yeah, and I think, like I say, if you're looking for somebody at the back that's going to be able to pass a ball. Now, listen, I know he's not the quickest. Again, you have to look at formation. Again, you have to look at the Champions League, because playing from the back, that's why he's looking for a centre back that wears gloves, that can play football in goal. Anybody. When you boil it down, it's a case of the style of play that Eddie wants to bring to the club is set in stone. It's not going to change. Now he wants to bring in players that provides that type of that effect. So we can all name players, and I think that's the reasons why he's more or less going for Gay. One, he's Premier League proven, but also he's high up the list, the same as Van Hecker, in progressing the ball forward. And passing lanes. So,
this is interesting. I've got some stats on Van Hecker here from the boot room. And he made 33 league starts for Brighton last season. On average, he won 2.4 aerial duels per game. Only Dan Burn won more in the league. More.
Yeah.
His 4.1 clearances over the same period also see him rank second to, guess who? Dan Burn with 5.2 clearances per 90 minutes. And this is the much maligned Dan Burn, who everybody wants to replace. I mean, don't get us wrong, he's not getting any younger.
No.
But he didn't get an England call up for nothing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're never too old. If you're good enough, and like I said, you don't make so many mistakes. I mean, there was a couple of times, don't get me wrong, the same as a lot of players do. Yeah, you find yourself out of position because you try and do too much. We saw that with Dan Burn, when he was coming across to that left-hand side, opening up the field. And if you haven't got Shah covering your backside, and again, you're reliant on your communication, if you like, between players, you've got too much of a gap between you. Good oppositions can run between the lines. So it's very, very interesting to see where we go going forward. I don't know whether tin hat time, according to Chris. If you have a look at the tic tac at the bottom of the scroll there, Eddie Howe's grueling season laid bare. The fixture list is out. So there you go. Is there anything else that you want to bring up, sir?
No, I think we'll leave it for tomorrow.
Yeah, we've got another show coming your way tomorrow, so we'll see you all then. I mean, obviously, there's still lots of.
I think there's a half a chance. I believe, I don't know if Martin's still with us, but there was a half a chance that Martin from the Mancunian Way was going to be on tomorrow to discuss
what's happening.
Livramento, amongst other things.
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked.
Still there, Martin, but Chris was saying something to me that he'd been in touch about coming on tomorrow night.
Yeah, I would have liked to hear Martin's views on what Livramento said about going to a declining team. So that was an interesting view on him moving forward, or whether that was just media BS, which it probably could have been. We all know what that's all about. Anyway, that's it then.
I don't think there's any. You cannot but argue that Man City are on the decline. Whether they can recover is another matter altogether. But there's no, you're going from treble winners to nothing winners. That's
but I mean, yeah, it is. But you can't judge it on one season, mate, can you? Not really. You can't just say.
As I say, the future remains uncertain.
It
we
does.
Don't know
but
what you're going to do.
Exactly.
The main man, the great man.
You'll hear a lot more about this, obviously, when the rulings come out, won't you?
Exactly.
Anyway, that is it. Thank you so much to Ron for the lovely gift.
Indeed.
Great,
Cheers,
great
Ronnie.
for that one. Cheers, Ronnie. And obviously, as always, thanks to my right-hand man for all his support. And again, thank you, everybody in the chat. giving us your views on the fixture lists. Be interesting to know if you can give us you can obviously go on the bottom and give us your predictions for how many points you believe we're going to end up at the end of the season. And we will be coming your way very soon, and we'll be doing our predictions where we're going to finish in the leagues, and we're going to look at all 20 teams, and we'll do that at another show. So again,
we're going to have a VAR special coming up.
Ron's saying, what gift? You've gifted £10, Ron. That's what I'm saying thank you for. Now, you're probably thinking that's going to go to your predictions. Your predictions league.
Oh, well.
So I'll tell you what, because it's only a £5 to enter, dude. So if that's what you want to do,
that's what you intended.
Let us know, matey. Because like I say, you've sent a tenner across. Right then.
I think I've got his contact details.
I'm going to say we'll contact you privately, Ron. So don't worry, matey. Yeah, we'll sort you out that way. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. It's a goodbye for me.
We're the lads.
That one over there, Lassies and Bairns,
and that one over there.
See you on the next one. Take care, all.